So hello everyone, thank you very much for joining this pitching session on digital health technologies for the prevention and personalized management of mental disorders and their long-term health consequences. Today's session, we will have the 10 pictures that you can see on your screen. Each picture will have 4 minutes to make a presentation, but before we start with the presentations themselves, I just wanted to remind you of a few rules. So we are actually recording all the sessions, and both the sessions and the presentations will be published on our website. And how can you contact your the pictures or the presenters for the sessions? So there's two easy ways. Either you go to the tab Pictures Call Sessions on top and you search for their name, or you go to the session on the agenda of the day and you can contact directly each of the pictures individually. So we will start then with our first presentation. I would like to give the floor to Dr. Nelly.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nayeli Schmutz. I am the Chief Medical Officer and co-founder at PIPRA. We are a very agile startup from Switzerland tackling delirium. It is a huge unmet need. We're interested in all aspects of delirium: prediction, prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. We are here because we would like to join a consortium. We are here because we would like to join a consortium in topic 5. But having said that, we could also join consortium in topic 1, 2, and 3. Something very important about us is that we are Swiss-based, so that means that we won't dilute the funding. Next slide, please. Delirium is a huge unmet need. It is extremely frequent in hospitalized patients, affecting around 30% of the patients above the age of 65. And if the patient goes in the ICU, the incidence reach 80%. It has dramatic long-term negative outcomes, including 6-fold increase in nursing home, 2-fold increase in mortality, and 9 months after the event, still 40% of the patients suffer from cognitive disorder, leading very often to dementia. It is extremely expensive for the healthcare system. For a mid-sized hospital, it costs in average $7.4 million per year per hospital, mostly due to an increased length of stay. We also know that in America, it is 60% more expensive than diabetes. Next slide, please. So at PIPRA, we already have a CE-certified product on the market. It is a preoperative risk prediction for delirium. And here we would like to apply a new digital health technology that we can apply for delirium. The main goal with IHI would be to develop an automated solution to diagnose delirium. It would make the assessment quicker. It would be easier to integrate into the healthcare pathway. It will allow early clinical diagnosis and then intervention with personalized management of the patients. It will also improve the long-term health outcomes, the long-term economic outcomes, and finally, the long-term social outcomes. Next slide, please. How do we foresee this project? So we think that it's going to be 3 main parts. The first one will be the identification of the predictive or diagnostic biomarkers that can be an observational trial. Then we will develop some algorithm, predictive or diagnostic, and finally we'll customize this the resulting tool. Next slide, please. What do we bring on the table? A deep knowledge of the huge unmet need, which is delirium, close contact with KOL all over the world, a very experienced and successful grant writing team, access to hospital in Switzerland and abroad, experience with clinical trials, and we also know the route to commercialization. Again, I insist again, we are from Switzerland, so we won't dilute the funding. Next slide, please. So we would like to partner with a consortium who is interested in delirium or any similar neurocognitive disorder. We would like to work with a consortium who wants to develop solutions around the patient's engagement, some soft intervention, rehabilitations, patient empowerment, involvement of family, of relative, of carers, and of course to develop and apply these effective digital solutions. It can be wearable solution, it can be biosensor or anything to improve delirium. We think that we would make a significant contribution to a consortium that has the technology or a platform, but that is still looking for a clinical application. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nelly, for your presentation. I'd like to ask Esther to unmute yourself and just turn on your camera, please. Thank you very much, Esther.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Esther Bleimschein. I'm a researcher at the Bertha von Suttner Private University in Austria, and I'm going to tell you in hopefully less than 4 minutes about our project, which we call the MeHealth Project. Next slide, please. Have you ever had the chance to talk to patients who have had numerous psychiatric care experiences and ask them what is among the biggest challenges besides taking the initial first step to actually seek help in the first place? There are, of course, many other challenges, but one recurring pitfall is how painful it is, even more so in states of acute crisis, having to retell the whole story again and again. Another big problem is the lag in continuity of care. Despite electronic health records and such, a lot of information and patient history is still lost between different points of services. In the light of COVID and during one of the many lockdowns, we started an exploratory project, which we initially just called the Mental Health Project, and then later came up with the name MeHealth. Together with a clinical partner, driven by the sudden need for telemedical tools, we set out to explore what patients want and need that could be supported by ICT tools. The number one finding was that beyond the use of data spaces and functionalities, there's a strong call to give patients a sense of agency and empowerment. The MeHealth idea is at heart to provide a platform which is more than an electronic health record and which is inherently owned by the patient. Next slide, please. So we are seeking for a consortium that would like to develop a prototype and test it in the field in numerous locations. The platform could include all sorts of features, be it health records, a secure video call plugin, medication reminders, psychoeducative or therapeutic content. The focal point is the possibility to tailor the platform to the individual patient's needs and to share records and information with any healthcare provider, from the hospital to registered therapists or social workers, but and only by active consent of the patient. From our current research, we can say that involving patients and giving them back some sense of agency and self-determination is key to evoke trust in technology. We want to bridge the information gap between in- and outpatient services and further include any other health-related professions in the future. We also want to strengthen personalized management and therefore meet actual patient needs. Next slide, please. With the IHI, we would like to put the patient at the center. Together with a consortium, the MeHealth idea could be upscaled and transferred to any other medical field in the future. Comorbidity and psychiatric illnesses, however, should be one of the key elements in long-term monitoring. Next slide, please. We are currently a research team at MeHealth, including a clinical partner and universities from various disciplines in Austria. And the last slide, please. And we are looking for partners in pretty much every category. We would like to join a consortium who would be willing and interested in the MeHealth concept, who together with us would like to develop a pilot and bring it towards testing and implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. I would like to call our next speaker, which is Iris.
Very much. My name is Iris Sommer. I'm a psychiatrist and part of the Discourse in Psychosis Consortium. We are considering to start a consortium using automatic speech analysis for people with depression and schizophrenia. Could I have the next slide, please? So, major depression, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia are very common and also associated with many years with disorder, and therefore expansive both in in ways of human suffering and in financial costs. In our consortium, we want to line up with service users and clinicians, and we've already made some preliminary contacts with them. We want to develop reliable outcome markers based on speech and set up a clinical network for major depression, bipolar, and schizophrenia. We want to apply speech analysis to improve diagnosis, have accurate relapse prediction in place, and fulfill treatment monitoring. So having a speech marker in place could actually be an option to reduce medication like antipsychotics, antidepressants, which would reduce the risk for example, metabolic syndrome. Can I have the next slide, please? Our main activities would be to identify the most relevant speech markers for the disorders, but also for their comorbidities, investigate the preferences and needs of service users, their family, social workers, and clinicians, apply the digital language markers in a transdiagnostic clinical framework. This would probably be a real-world setting when not that much thinking about an RC3, and validate the potential of these speech markers for differential diagnosis, treatment monitoring, and prognosis and relapse prediction, and also the potential for a reduction in medication dose associated with adequate relapse prediction. Can I have the next slide? So we are a strong global network of 190 researchers and psychiatric hospitals. We are assembled under the Discourse in Psychosis Consortium. We have existing databases of speech samples of patients recorded all under the same protocol, stemming from 20 countries and 10 languages. We have expertise in speech and language analysis and associations with patient and family associations and social workers and clinicians. We have teamed up with so far one SME, but very happy to take others on board as well. And we have some initial contacts with industry, but this is also in the early stage. Could I have the next slide? We are reaching out for people with expertise and excellent data regarding speech analysis in people with depression, and also to industry partners who are interested in developing speech analysis and who could reinforce our consortium. That is what I wanted to share. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great. Thank you very much, Iris, for your presentation. I would like to call into the stage the next speaker, Jakob.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Jakob Bartram. I'm at the Technical University of Denmark in Copenhagen. I have added some details in the marketplace, and there's some links there, and you can also find more sort of background information on me and the kind of research that we are doing. We are mainly interested in joining sort of the mental health call 3, since we've been working with what we call digital phenotyping in mental health for quite a lot of years. Can I ask for the next slide? So sort of the challenges and objectives that I think is important to address, and what we have been working on for many years now, is to sort of look into creating a digital health platform for designing digital health technologies in general. So this goes from sort of diagnosis, sometimes that's called digital phenotyping. So trying to find digital biomarkers for the onset of different mental health problems. So for instance, we just heard about the voice digital biomarkers, which is one thing that we have also been working with. We have also been working with quite a lot in terms of treatment. We are working what is called behavioral just-in-time interventions of different sorts. And then, of course, trying to understand to a very large scale sort of the large data on mental health, and is working closely with the clinicians here in Copenhagen and Denmark to try to understand mental health sort of in the wild, sort of getting a lot of real world data and understanding on the development of mental health. And I think if I look at this call, I think it's very much sort of at the core of this this call. So if you take the next or just click once, what we've been working with, this is taken directly from the call. We work with flexible, interoperable digital platforms. And the next one, we develop digital tools. We work quite a lot with engagement of people, both sort of patients, also caregivers and clinicians. And the next one. And we use a lot of sort of modern machine learning, AI-based analysis method to sort of develop our technologies. If you go next. Yeah, so here's just some pointers to some of the resources that we are offering. We have been involved in a number of different health projects on mental health, but we've also been working quite a lot with the comorbidity in mental health. So we've been working with cardiology and diabetes, which also sits at the core of this call. And we sort of offer a scientific basis in AI and machine learning for mental health, the UX design of these types of applications, and large software architectures for digital phenotyping. And a lot of our work is sort of pivoting around the CARP platform, the Copenhagen Research Platform, which is sort of an open source, open platform for digital phenotyping. And there's a lot of more information online, so please go and have a look. So next slide. And that's just sort of wrapping up the kinds of expertises we want to basically join some sort of a consortium that can make use of our research and our platform. We would also very much like to work with clinical partners outside of Denmark. So we have a strong basis here in Denmark, but working with clinicians and clinical outside of Denmark. And then, of course, other research labs and small, medium enterprises that could use our technology and contribute to it. So I think that sort of ends what I wanted to say here.
Yes, great. Thank you very much, Jakob, for your presentation. I would like then to call the next speaker, Oscar.
Hello, my name is Oscar Mayora. I have a background in computer science, and I've been working in the topic of digital health for more or less 20 years. And I work for Fondazione Bruno Kessler, which is a private research center in Italy, in northern Italy, in the city of Trento. And what we want to do here is to build up a consortium in the topic of digital therapeutics for prevention and management of mental health disorders. So we are in the call related to mental health. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, the challenges that we foresee in this project are related to the definition of value-based care solutions, in which we want to bring in solutions on the topic of integrative artificial intelligence and digital therapeutics, meaning that what we want to do here is to try knowledge-based tools that are sustained in evidence-based medicine in one side, to complement with trustworthy machine learning for doing data-driven models related to the therapy paths of persons. Then all these we would like to do by the end of the project, bringing up some solutions that could be entering into a certification process already. So can I see next slide, please? Yeah, the main activities that we would like to do in the project, like the kind of very high level work package structure, would be first to design a step care approach towards the mental health treatment, supporting this with digital coaching technologies. So this is what we want to give in the hands of patients, digital coaching technologies. While in the hands of doctors, we want to provide them with tools that could be, for example, predictive models for decision support making. After that, we want to conduct this prospective randomized control trial to prove the actual effectiveness of the solutions that we will build in this project. And as I mentioned before, so towards the end of the project, we can start a certification process of the proposed solutions. Next slide, please. What Fondazione Bruno Kessler can bring is our expertise in user-centered design and design thinking approaches. And the virtual coaching platform actually that we are now using in different domains, such as mental health, among others, that is basically a platform supporting patients for reaching their healthcare goals, and then they can be dynamically changing in a kind of very flexible way. Then we also would like to provide our expertise that is achieved working together here in the local environment with local regulators, so with the policymakers and with the local health provider. So in a way that we can have solutions that could be going all the way from the innovation idea to the actual use in real world scenarios as we are normally doing here. Regarding the in-kind contributions, this is something that we will be agreeing together with the members of the consortiums once we will be setting up the whole team. Next slide, please. Yeah, the expertise we are looking for, since we want to build a whole consortium, first of all, we are looking for IHI private members interested in then bringing the digital therapeutics approach to the market. Then also partners in other locations working with the psychological domain. I think that my time is over, probably. Sorry, I have some sound going on here. Yeah. Also involving partners with a legal expertise and with expertise on ethics, running the randomized control trials. And finally, partners also helping us to conduct the use cases, specific use cases that we want to deliver in this project. I think this is my last slide. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Oscar, for your presentation. I'd like to introduce the next speaker. It's Ms. Gabriela.
Hello. My name is Gabriela Perez Fuentes, and I'm a clinical psychologist and a research clinical scientist at Valdebron Institute of Research in Barcelona. Next slide, please. Major depressive disorder is among the top 2 leading causes of global burden of disease. We know there's a bidirectional association of MDD with a wide range of physical illnesses contributing to increased morbidity and mortality. There is a substantial proportion of patients suffering from major depressive disorder that don't benefit sufficiently from available treatment options, and this leads to chronification of mental and physical health problems. And therefore, the prediction of treatment outcome and tailored management options, they remain challenging. We think our proposal is suitable for this IHI call. We are a core team of private and public partners. We have an established track record from previous IMI2 projects, and we want to move now from the planning, which we have done, the design in the previous projects, to execution. We have established a core network of clinical sites, patient community advisors, regulators, and ethics committees. The potential results and expected impacts that we foresee are to reduce chronification of major depressive disorder and to predict and prevent relapses and treatment non-response, and also to validate digital phenotyping tools for predicting treatment response and management of comorbidities, as well as improving the well-being of the population and reduce disease burden. Next slide, please. So our main activities that we propose are to establish and monitor mental and physical health in a large European observational cohort of patients with a major depressive disorder. We also would like to offer a 2-year follow-up. This is part of a core study protocol that has been established in this previous IMI grant. We also offer a clinical site network that has been established during this IMI grant. We would like to do data collection, data harmonization and standardization, and also to assess and monitor treatment response and the longitudinal course of a major depressive disorder and its physical comorbidities with standard clinical measures and advanced digital phenotyping tools. Next slide, please. So our main expertise and what the resources that we can offer are mainly an academia and industry consortium. We have clinical experience focused on observational studies and randomized trials in mental health. We do have expertise in design of observational and interventional studies. We do have a track record of building clinical site networks and the corresponding operational plans. We have experience as well developing consensus guidelines in terms of disease definitions, and also, very importantly, liaising and actively collaborating with different stakeholders, such as patient and community representatives, the industry, ethics, and regulators. Next slide, please. Now, what we need, the experience that we're looking for is tech companies, small or large companies, that can offer expertise in digital technology in the assessment and monitoring of mental and physical health. Also, additional clinical investigators who have the expertise in comorbidity, and academic or industry partners with expertise in the assessment of socioeconomic outcomes. And any entity that can add expertise to the design, operation, or implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. I would like to call to the stage the next speaker, Françoise.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Françoise Charbit. I work in Grenoble at CLAT, a research and technology organization that is specialized in microelectronics, sensors, edge AI, and their integration into medical devices. I am here because I'm looking for a consortium that would be interested by a multimodal collection and analysis of data with wearables that are specifically adapted to the brain activity. The next slide. Our goal is to identify and measure digital biomarkers of mental states that we can call a signature with a combination of wearable devices. It consists in measuring the neuronal activity with EEG, the cerebral hemodynamics with FNIRS, that stands for functional near-infrared spectroscopy, and the classical physiological parameters such as blood pressure, heart rate, stress, etc. Our unique selling points are the following. One, it's completely mobile, so we can go outside the hospital. Two, thanks to the multimodality, we are able, together with clinicians and patients, to find the relevant signatures, depending, of course, of the disease. Three, we are convinced that this will open new perspectives toward real-time and non-invasive monitoring. This is just the start. And four, the comorbid condition, especially the cardiovascular, can be integrated, and this is aligned with the call. So the benefits for IHI, of course, to continue to evaluate the role of wearable devices. Next slide. So we offer actually three main assets corresponding to the three modalities I have explained before. One, in red, this is, we have a very strong experience in mobile and very low weight EEG systems, which are of course wireless, especially regarding signal processing. And our method is now a standard. It's called the Riemann geometry. Two, in green, we have also an expertise in diffuse optics across tissues that has led to the coupling of near-infrared and EEG, so both at the same time on the same device. And three, in blue, we have numerous projects about physiological monitoring, and we offer an access to our platform to the consortium, mainly to test and check the existing wearables that are not as robust as claimed by the manufacturers. So what we propose is to integrate data collected from existing commercial devices to analyze these signals, and find these signatures. We could do sensor development, but not in the framework of this call. Next slide. Of course, we need clinical expertise to identify and validate these digital biomarkers that we're going to measure with wearables. The clinicians, it's important to say that the clinician will have access to new information to which he or she does not have access today, because it's completely different data collected on the patient. We need, of course, industrial partners to define the ideal case of application and make the future integrated device easy to use and MDR compliant. But I would say, moreover, we look for long-term collaboration because we envision these multimodal measures to be integrated in a single device in the future. And finally, I wanted to underline that our approach is not dedicated to mental health, but could be of interest also for neurodegenerative diseases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Françoise, for your contribution. I would like now to call to the stage Georges Sussieu.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to pitch our idea. It is based on a previous AAL, ambient-assisted living proposal. So based on SME, we have good experience in telemetry, we call it, so medical IoT. Next slide, please. So the challenges, as you have seen from the previous speakers as well, are quite important. So there is a statistic that mental health is affecting quite a lot of European and worldwide citizens. Now with the COVID situation and the recent war in Ukraine, this conditions have been also increasing, and also the treatments account for a quite large amount of expenditure in Europe. And for current digital healthcare technologies, there are on the market different AI applications, smartphone wearables, IoT, and so on. But innovation is still lagging to go to the market. So what are our objectives? The main objective is to provide an early warning, so early identification of signs for mental health condition and deteriorations. And of course, this will ease the work of the primary, secondary, and tertiary caregivers, and also will enable initiations of countermeasures. Can be simple measures as diets, or more complex measures as well. So what we have in the proposal is to have analysis of the exposome of what psychological, social, and all the factors that are affecting the mental health, and then see which of the digital healthcare technologies are applicable. Next slide, please. So the main activities are to first identify the information available and what is still required to be collected. It might be data from sensors such as wearables, or acoustic data, environmental data about air quality, or the food, and so on. And then identify those data sources that are available, and trying to automate some procedures. So to collect automatically the data from the wearables that are already deployed, or some smart speakers, or let's say like Alexa, and so on. In the last step, we compile and aggregate collected knowledge and to provide recommendations. So we have already so-called chatbots and voice bots that can provide then the guidelines for the stakeholders, for the pharma or for the healthcare practitioners. Next slide, please. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, we have already some partners from the previous projects and proposals from Austria, from Romania, and from Finland. You can see also some of our ongoing projects related to this topic, like Med at Work, which is dealing with well-being in the workplace, or some other projects as Alpha or Establish, which are dealing with measuring the environmental, how the environmental parameters are affecting the mental health for different types of vulnerable users, also children with cancer. We had some use cases, and elderly people as well. So next slide, please. So the expertise that is requested is mainly related to impact and recommendations. That means especially to have clinical trials or focus groups for different types of comorbidities, and to analyze the impact of the different components, as I mentioned, for measuring the environment. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George, for your presentation. I would like now to introduce our next speaker, Jérôme. Can I please ask you to unmute yourself, and if you wish to turn on your camera?
Yes, hi everyone. So I am Jérôme Khalifa, I'm the co-founder of Let It Care. We are a data science, mathematics, and software SME based in Paris, France. Next slide, please. Okay, so we are specialized in the use of digital health technologies, including wearable, for the telesurveillance of patients which are suffering from chronic diseases. And so, and our goal is to use multimodal sources of data. We are focused on two therapeutic areas, which are immune-mediated diseases and mental diseases. So in the case of mental disorders, such multimodal data can include very heterogeneous components, such as speech, environment, pollution, pictures from your smartphone camera, social interactions, mobility, and etc. And then our goal is to understand, first of all, to select the technologies which allow to monitor, and then to understand how to best combine these multimodal data to predict the disease evolution, and therefore to take clinical action or to adapt the treatments. So our goal within the IHI Call on mental disorder is multifold. We would like to adapt our monitoring platform to provide a complete workflow, including the patient's smartphone app, the data collection technology, the data analysis, and the dashboard for mental disease clinicians. So that's the workflow. And then the objective would also to create multimodal patient data sets, because we don't have that much. We are actually lacking patients' data at home in the case of mental disease, and this is very critical. And with that would come the generation of key clinical knowledge based on their activities of daily living. This would allow to improve the care pathway in a way which better reflects patient experience, and also to improve the treatment. So it concerns both clinical routine and drug development. Next slides, please. Thank you. Okay, so we envision a project. So this is a proposal. We are too small to lead a consortium ourselves, but we envision a project whose goal would be to design and conduct such clinical studies, whose objectives will be, first of all, to test the patient acceptance, the acceptance of the technology, and the clinical feasibility of which multimodal data can be used, which are less well accepted, or on which there are too strong adherence or compliance issue, including, of course, the selection of the most appropriate technologies. And then there will be a very strong data analytics activities to identify the predictive model, the digital markers and endpoints, and assess their performance in terms of sensitivity to change, reflection of patient experience, correlation with PROs, and etc. And this would be also used if we can have the treatment data to model and individualize the effects of treatment. Okay, the project would therefore also allow to generate data sets to identify and generate, to first of all identify external data sets when there are some and generate new ones. And we would like to make strong progress with the regulatory bodies, such as the EMA Innovation Task Force of the FDA, to define with them what would be a validated digital biomarker, a validated digital endpoints, and etc. Next slide, please. So in our case, the expertise we're bringing is technology, data science, software. So first of all, the selection of the digital health technologies, the reliable, adapted to the context of decentralized clinical studies. We've already done that on several occasions. The part which is related to statistical analysis, the modeling of a clinical study, the modeling of treatment effects, and etc. A huge chunk would be all the advanced signal processing and machine learning, deep learning method for integrated all this highly heterogeneous data, so including time series, longitudinal observation, which are very different, therefore building what would be appropriate digital biomarkers with strong predictive performance and sensitivity. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, and then software development, of course, we're a software company which building smartphone app, data processing, and etc. We are doing something similar in the large IMI project called IDFast, which is focused on developing digital endpoints for neurodegenerative and immune-mediated diseases. And so, next slide, please. And so the expertise we are requesting were, first of all, clinical partners bringing all the clinical knowledge and insight on mental diseases, which is needed here, and also other clinical partners with the know-how in the clinical operation and management, because of course we envision clinical study, probably multi-centric clinical studies in this project. EFPIO partner, of course, for helping to select a model, having the regulatory experience on how to best work with the EMA, and guidance on the priorities on endpoints and etc. And of course, we're going to also need SMEs and academics specialized on data management platforms and ethics and legal experts. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Jérôme, for your presentation. I would like to call our final speaker, Aurélie. Aurélie?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon, if you can place the presentation. Oh, yeah. Thank you. So my name is Aurélie Soria Frisch. I'm the director of the business unit of neuroscience at Starlab Barcelona. This is a SME based in Barcelona, and we are specialized in providing neurotechnology as a service. Next slide. As you probably know, there is a lack of modern decision tools in mental health for different problems that affect 20% of the world population in neurodegenerative diseases, but also in mental health like major depression disorder. And on the other hand, the development of CNS drugs is a high-risky business. So therefore, we think so that we can offer some actionable data that can help both in the diagnosis and the prognosis of both diseases and treatments. Next slide. And what we offer to do so is neurotechnology as a service. It's a complete solution with proprietary hardware for acquiring EEG data that has certification both in Europe and the US, that it's able to use dry electrodes. These are two different solutions in the middle of the slide for recording EEG in dry setup, so you don't need to use gel for them. And these are wireless connected devices to the computer. And together with proprietary hardware, next slide, please. We offer a machine learning platform for developing EEG digital biomarkers that we have been developing in the last 10 years. We offer both hardware and the machine learning platform not only together, but also we offer services for preparation of protocols. So if you want to use EEG in a clinical trial as an endpoint, we look for the most promising protocols that would deliver this efficacy in the clinical trial. We have also a data collection platform, a cloud data collection platform, as well as we have developed different digital biomarkers based on the usage not only of advanced signal processing, but also on the usage of machine learning. What we use for brain health characterization, for stratification, for patient stratification in the recruitment of clinical trials, and also in as digital biomarkers for drug response. Next slide, please. So actually, these are the different 5 areas where we have been active. So the most fitting ones are the 4 in the top. So we offer digital biomarkers for endpoints as drug response, so for characterizing drug response. We have developed different digital biomarkers for neurodegenerative diseases, basically in Parkinson, in Alzheimer, and also dementia. We have different biomarkers to characterize emotional response that can be used as endpoints in the management and in the treatment of depression. And we have been active in the development of autism and ADHD treatments. As an SME, we are looking for a building consortium, and you can find here my email address where you can contact me, or in the platform where you can find all the information on our expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aurélie, for your presentation. And thank you all, the 10 speakers that we had today. Just as a reminder, how you can contact the presenters. So it's very easy. Just go to the top menu. You click on pictures, call 3 sessions, and you can find them there. Or if you want just to find the ones for this session, you go to the agenda, select the session, and you can contact the speakers as well from that. All the presentations and the recordings of the sessions will be shared afterwards. Thank you very much for joining today's session. See you tomorrow.